Get 5 coffins ready.
What's up everybody, Shinmoki here, and today we're going to be taking a look at 3 gods to one-trick in the mid lane in SMITE. If you don't know what one-tricking is, it's when you play almost exclusively one character to the point that you know every little thing there is to know about them, from matchup knowledge to niche mechanics of the character, as well as of course exceptional execution of the character. So since it's pretty much the only god you'll be playing, they need to be characters who are not only good in the meta consistently, but also heavily benefit from learning the ins and outs of them to ridiculous degrees. This video isn't for beginners and will require you to have a basic understanding of each role, but of course I'll be describing each god as best I can, and if you want a breakdown of each character, I'll leave resources for myself and others down in the description. On the more consistently good side of things, we have Giannis. Giannis had a real reign of terror through SMITE's 2nd through 5th seasons, but mostly now just bobs up and down from competitive relevance. But like Amaterasu before him, I think Giannis is wildly underused when he's not considered top tier. I mean, the guy is the definition of a problem. He's portaling your teammates, he's portaling his teammates, he's one-shotting anything squishy within a 5-mile radius. You can't catch him, and even when you do, he just ults out and says see you later. Given how much I'm hyping up Giannis here and in my guide for him, it gives the impression that I think he's invincible, and I definitely do not think that at all. But of course that's where the idea of mastering comes in. He's weak in the early game and struggles when it comes to doing any semblance of damage to tanks, and in some metas even to squishies. But that just means as a Giannis player, you need to maximize Giannis' other aspects in full effect. Portaling and thresholding enemies and teammates alike at the exact right time at every opportunity while not costing yourself your life can prove difficult. And of course, stacking people with his insane second ability at every single opportunity. Still though, Giannis can definitely be painful to play sometimes though. In some metas, he just does not do damage ever. I mean, he always comes through in the late game damage wise, but like there are just some metas where it feels like Giannis has been excommunicated from doing damage. Still though, I think few players really focus on getting the most out of Giannis while playing him and just stick to the basic stuff, almost never thresholding enemies or trucking their 2s over walls. And I can't believe I haven't mentioned it yet, sniping people. If we can get him to late game. Yes! Suck my actual cock. Yeah, I know in my guide I said that snipes weren't something really to focus on, but there's most certainly an art to it. And don't ask me how they do it, but the best Giannis players in the world can pretty consistently get insane snipes, and it always has a huge impact on the match. Speaking of always having a huge impact, Persephone. Oh, I hate this god. She is actually the most annoying thing ever put onto this planet, and that's why I think you should use her. Persephone is a zoning character, and when I say zoning, I mean you cannot go anywhere near her in the laning phase. I mean, I know being a jungler is basically like being a bushwhacker, but this is just ridiculous. You see what I did there with the plants and the... even when you don't maximize the usage of your plants, Persephone still has instant wave clear, as well as solid safety with her movement, making her a good jack of all trades. When you do maximize and manage those plants though, good lord, she's nearly impossible to deal with. This means that when you're good enough at Persephone, you've already won lane before the match even starts. She's not all about laning though. Not only are her skirmishes in the jungle good, but she's got huge teamfight presence with that ridiculous ultimate. I do think now that a lot of time has passed with Persephone in the game, most people know how to play around that ultimate, but it's still one of the most insane in the game if you can hit a key target in almost every teamfight. And of course, if you're able to get the enemy team to fight with you in the jungle, it becomes impossible for them to deal with. And I think that's what makes Persephone good to one-trick. She's one of the trickier gods in the game to figure out, especially when it comes to figuring out her game plan. But if you're able to deduce as well as execute the character's best game plan in every given situation, she ends up removing a lot of variables that cripple other mages. What I mean is, she always has an option in every situation to remain effective. She can peel for herself as well as teammates. Her ability to play off teammates' CC is second to none. And if your team's CC is lacking, she's still able to hit her abilities raw very easily to set herself up for success. And again, that laning phase. Good lord. Well, speaking of laning phase, my final god in mid lane, Hel. Hel is a classic SMITE god who is very simple, especially when compared to Giannis and Persephone, but she still sees consistent effectiveness throughout all sorts of metas, outside of competitive play of course. Hel thrives off of, well, not dying. Essentially, mastering Hel boils down to simply not dying in the early game and not getting put too far behind. And if you get ahead, sheesh. But one common theme I'm sure you've picked up on by now with good one-trick gods is that in almost any meta, given enough game time to get their items online, Hel will always come through as an extremely hard to deal with burst damaging, burst healing, ult cleansing demon. I consistently find when I play Hel that everyone, my teammates, the enemy team, and even the minions just seem to forget just how much damage Hel does once she gets about 3 items deep. I mean, she can really lay the smackdown better than a lot of mages, to be honest. And she can get herself in there and still be safe thanks to that cleanse I mentioned as well as the movement speed on her third ability. I think with Hel, she's mechanically extremely simple, but hitting absolutely everything all the time and at every opportunity seems to be something that eludes the average Hel player. Sounds kind of familiar. So recognizing every moment to poke with both stances of your first ability, as well as when you can all in and when you can play safe, is absolutely necessary, as defaulting to always playing safe will see you as an okay healer doing maybe 500 damage every fight, when there's so much more on the table. I mean, even in matches when the enemy team is meant to be completely dogpiling you, good positioning as well as good timing on your cleanse could be all it takes to shut dive attempts down. Again, not necessarily in very high level play or in the competitive scene, but I've always found that Hel consistently has the tools she needs to keep not only herself and her team alive, but to completely slaughter the opposition too. On that edgy note, that about does it for my 3 best gods to one-trick in the mid lane. Let me know if anyone else you put in this list, or if you think any gods weren't deserving of a spot. And thanks for watching.